Welcome back to the United stand. Bruno out for a month. More Mainoo drama. Both out for the game on Boxing Day evening. Big Semenyo news to talk about as well. I'm going to give you my views on yesterday's game as well because I'm not really understand. Listen, I'm a very positive person. But I think a lot of people are gaslighting out here. I think a lot of people are clutching at straws and there's a lack of honesty at the moment out there. But do us a big favour here at the United stand. Please like, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. What are you doing? But get the video liked, get this shared across your social media platforms. Sorry about the voice. I had a horrible cold for a few weeks. But then Friday night was my 40th birthday party. I partied a little hard and I lost my voice. So it is on the way back. But ignore that. We're here to talk football. Loads going on. Let us know where you're watching from around the world as well. I always like to know where people are tuning in from. Are you all set and ready for the festive and, of course, the Christmas period? If you celebrate it, if you're not, maybe you live in a part of the world that doesn't celebrate it. Maybe you don't celebrate it, but you're in a country that does. What are you doing over the festive period? It's always nice to know. But I can't wait to talk Semenyo as well. I'm a little bit excited about that. I also want to know what you think we should do with Bruno and Mainoo out moving forward, because we know Ugarte is not the answer. Where are people tuning in from? Look at that. We've got people from Malaysia. Is Mark sacked this morning? Yeah. I've got a confession about the United stand. I'm really the owner, and we've moved Mark on. We just don't think he's that good anymore. You know, he's lost his touch. Obviously, that's a joke for anyone who thinks it's serious. Sarcasm. If you don't understand sarcasm, please get off the internet, make friends, and touch grass. Who else people were tuning in from? Ethiopia. Big up Ethiopia in the house. Ron, Terry, yes, it's me. Hello, good morning to you, Paul. I see you. Good morning, Paul Thomas and Solid Blake. Good morning to you. Good morning to Sarah. Loads of people commenting. So it's one thing I love about the United stand. I love it, and it's hard. The comments are so quick, and there's so many. It's hard to read them all. And YouTube made it hard now that it shows everybody's at rather than their names, because all the letters being close together messes with my dyslexic brain. But there we go. We've got someone here from Iceland. Max is here from Sydney. Denton in Cape Town. Big up Cape Town. Germany. Manchester. Pinder in Manchester. Good morning to you, Timmy. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Welcome to the 40 Club, Terry. Yes, 40 years of age. Damn. Yes. But look, let's talk football. There's loads to go through this morning. There really, really is. And the big news is about Bruno Fernandes today for me. And the fact that Bruno Fernandes is going to miss an entire month of football, according to the early reports. Now, we hope they're wrong. I hope that he puts on an ice pack, goes to bed, wakes up, and the injury's gone. We know Bruno Fernandes has powers of recovery that are almost like witch doctor level. And I hope he's back for the Newcastle game. But I do doubt it. It looked like a soft tissue injury. Those take anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks to recover from. And I will keep the same energy for Bruno Fernandes as I do the other players. I don't want to see him rush back and then a bigger, a worse, a more severe injury then ensues, because you miss him for longer. And Bruno Fernandes being out is a massive blow. The level of creativity, the leadership he brings, it will hurt us. There is no doubt. And this being coupled at exactly the same time that Mainoo is out is a blow. And I'm telling you now what I don't want to see. I'm telling you now what infuriates me about this is the fact that I've got a horrible feeling Ugarte is going to play, and that can't happen. He has lost 7 straight games when starting for Man United in the Premier League. The worst run, the worst losing streak for any starting player in the history of the competition for Manchester United. 7 straight times when he has started, we have lost. Even if it's not tactical, it's based on omens, I wouldn't play him in the next game. And that's my fear. But what would you do? What's your solution with no Bruno Fernandes and right now, no Kobbie Mainoo? What's your solution? What's your remedy? What do you think the approach should be as we go into that new... I'm not that worried about Wolves, to be honest with you. I'm not that worried about the Wolves game. I think Kobbie's back for that. We'll talk Kobbie in a minute. But for Newcastle United at home, a game that is must win, must win, must win. Because we're not winning very many games at the moment. We haven't been losing many, but we're not winning very many games. And we've got to get back to winning. We just do. 1, we need the points. 2, I'm getting ever more increasingly worried about the United strand. I'm worried about his health. I truly, truly am. So what would you do? Let's look at some of your comments here, because I really want to gauge what you've got to say on this. Licha and Casemiro, Mount and Martinez and Casemiro. Let's have a little look. Buy 2 midfielders in January. Well, that's not going to help us to Newcastle. We'll get to that a bit later. We'll get to what to do in January. But what do we do Boxing Day? I want to know what you want to do there. On Andre, I'm on your train of thought here. I'm in your area of thought. Licha can play next to Casemiro. Look, let me just say this now. I get it. I thought Lisandro Martinez was fantastic in midfield yesterday. And I've been someone that's pushed back against the idea of playing him in that role. I was worried. What I will say is that Villa didn't really press. Newcastle will press the midfield harder, in my opinion. But that isn't my concern. My concern with putting Lisandro Martinez in a deeper area is actually Yoro. Now, for me, I think we've been playing with a back 4. I don't care what the graphics on Sky Sports say. If you watch our games, Yoro's been going out into more of a right-back position. We've been playing with a flat back 4. In possession, when we're defending, you'll see us often at times go to a back 5, but that's quite normal. Yoro, for me, is going for a really bad time. He's going for a really, really bad time. Ever since the Crystal Palace game, he has been second-guessing himself. For both goals yesterday, the lack of aggression and the decision-making and the awareness were so far off key. If he closes Rodgers down for the first goal and shows him down the line, unlikely they score. For the second goal, I do think Diallo was turned too easy. But he's flat-footed. He's on his heels. He isn't anticipating where the ball might end up. And if he's ready, if he's more aggressive, he clears that ball. And if I'm honest with you, in the second half against Villa yesterday, I watched the game back last night for my sins. And without Bruno Fernandes and without 7 first-team players, you've got to remember De Ligt, Maguire, Maz, Ahmad, Mbeumo, Bruno Fernandes went off injured, and no Kobbie Mainoo, plus, 8, and Casemiro being out, unless I've already said that one, maybe my mind's gone, with 8 first-team players missing for one reason or another. And I do consider Mainoo a first-team squad player. He's one of the first, he should be one of the first players to come into the team when there's injuries and problems, but he was also out. We actually, barring that goal, conceded very little opportunities, dominated the ball, and should have scored. Still should have scored. So my issue about Lisandro going into the middle is I think we need him at the back. With De Ligt out, with Maguire out, with Maz at the AFCON. We can't. In the last 2 matches, I thought Aiden Heaven yesterday, majestic, but he's young. It's very likely against Newcastle he has a bad day. Young, inexperienced. The last 2 games, our young centre-backs who I have faith in, I believe can make it to a very high level of the game. But right now, these youngers are being exposed. Right now, these youngers just don't have the know-how, the experience, maybe even the confidence to perform at that level every week. And I think we need to put Lisandro Martinez back in his natural position. What I would do is move Fletcher into the middle. I would put our trust in youth. But what I would do is exactly what we did against Aston Villa. So I would have the defensive line operate the way that it does. It might be a back three with wing backs, but actually it molds more into a back four during real time. What I would then do is exactly what we did yesterday against Villa. Is I'd have Cass who would sit and hold, and then I would put Fletcher with I would have Fletcher with Mount and with probably Diallo coming inside because we haven't got many other options, and creating like a midfield three ahead of Casemiro to pack that area. And then what you then have is Cunha and Šeško in more of the attacking roles. Of course, the wing backs giving you the width that you need. I would do the exact same thing against Newcastle. It may not have the same element of surprise. It may not have the same element of catching Newcastle off guard as it did Aston Villa, because they'll watch the Villa footage, but we've got to pack that area. We have to pack that midfield. I would put faith in the academy. I would put faith in the young man Fletcher. I would not trust Ugarte in there. And right now, I think Yoro needs to be out of the firing line. I think right now, Lenny Yoro needs to be on the bench. Bring him back in for the Wolves game. Abso-friggin-lutely. But this game against Newcastle, bring in Fletcher into that middle, but pack it. Don't leave him exposed by himself. Pack that midfield as we did against Aston Villa. Do that, and there is half a chance. Newcastle don't have great away form. We're at home, and you put a youngster, you put an academy player in that team in the middle, different level of vibes from that crowd. Different type of support from that crowd. You go with Ugarte and Cass, you're almost going to get booed from the first whistle. He needs to get this right, Amorim. He has to get this right. Let's have a look at some of your comments that have come through here. Scary Terry Monday. Trust in the youth, but not defence. It's a contradiction, though. So, this is it, but it isn't a contradiction. It's not a contradiction on any level. It's because the conversation, it shouldn't be surface level, my friend. This is the United stand. It isn't just the best, but it's the biggest Man United platform in the world. This isn't the mainstream media for quick sound bites. This is for conversation. We cannot reduce the trust in youth down to a single small sentence. We have to have honest conversations. I was working last week with Jolien Lescott. Really nice guy, by the way. And we were talking about this on and off camera. When you're a defender and you're young, of course you're going to make mistakes. I can't think of any centre-backs at 18, 19, 20 that were perfect and that were massively consistent for long periods of time. Centre-backs, full-backs, at that age, almost impossible. Almost impossible. What can help them is when they're part of a really good unit. So, for instance, if you've got a 19, 20-year-old centre-back like Yoro, but he's playing in a back four with a world-class right-back, with a world-class centre-back next to him, a very good left-back, a brilliant experienced goalkeeper, and a solid midfield in front of him. The inexperience and the problems that young defenders can create for your team can be massively covered up and protected by what's around them. But you put a young, inexperienced, out-of-form centre-back in a team and a system that has massive holes in it, partnered with another, even more inexperienced centre-back in a team that hasn't found itself this year, you're going to have massive problems. And the difference between trusting in the youth in terms of having loads of young centre-backs in versus giving an attacker a chance is this. Yoro can get every single duel correct for the first 60 minutes of the game, make two mistakes and you're 2-0 down. Shea Lacey can have 3 shots that go into row Z and still score the winning goal. There's a different pressure on trusting attacking players versus defensive-minded players when it comes to the youth. Then you can't remove the context, my friend. What we cannot do is sit here and remove the context of who Yoro or Aiden Heaven is playing next to. Again, would I be as worried about the young centre-backs if we were using a back 3 and we had Lissandro one side and De Ligt the other? No. If, for instance, Bruno was fit, Cass was fit, Ahmad and Mbeumo were here, and we were going to use a midfield 3 and bring Mainoo into the side, would I be worried about Yoro's form if he was part of that back line? Nowhere near as much. We cannot remove the context and just go, we say trust in youth. Now we're saying take Yoro out. That's a contradiction. It's not a contradiction on any level unless we want to have basic surface level conversations. And I don't think that's what the United stand is all about, my friend. I really, really don't. This here from Lawrence Berry says, Heaven is the informed defender. Martinez can add experience. Back 4 needed. Yeah, listen, I'd go to a back 4. I would pack the midfield and see what we can do against Newcastle. That would be my solution to this. On Mainoo, can I ask you guys a question as well? I want to speak Mainoo. Do you think Mainoo's injured? Can we get a poll, please, Mr. Ogilvy? Can we get a poll running right now? Do you really think Kobbie Mainoo is injured? Have a yes, he's injured. Have an answer which is no, he's being punished. And an answer which is the player's faking it. I want to put these options out there because I want to have a conversation. Do you think he's injured? Because I'm not convinced. Do I think he's faking it? No. But I understand the logic. If he's pushing for a move, if he wants to move on, I understand the logic that maybe in frustration he's saying, sorry, my leg's hurting, I can't play. I get it. I don't believe that. I think he was punished. I think he was punished for his brother's actions and the reports from some credible sources that he knew about it. I still don't think he's publicly condemned it. Some will say, well, Amorim shouldn't lie that you won't face punishment. I actually disagree. I don't want the manager telling us publicly he's going to be punished, because that's airing the dirty linen in public, right? I'd rather the white lie of he's injured. That's my view. I think he's being punished. But that hurt us. That really hurt us yesterday. Because I feel that game, with the way our midfield setup was, if we had Kobbie Mainoo out there, could have been a different game. And if the stories are true, that Kobbie Mainoo knew his brother was going to wear the T-shirt, didn't stop it, or has thanked his brother, hasn't publicly condemned it, was on board with it. If any of those stories are true, I'm so disappointed. I don't like how Kobbie Mainoo's been treated. I believe that he should have had more game time, more opportunity. I've been so complimentary of his professionalism, his behaviour, the way he's conducted himself. And if they've done that, the irony as well, they've done it on a night where he was given a big opportunity and played fantastically. If he's been involved in that T-shirt in any capacity, alongside not condemning it, and that's led to a punishment, oh, what a cluster from everyone. I get why he'd be disciplined, but we need him. But if it's punishment, he should be back, shouldn't he? And if he is back, our chances of beating Newcastle increase, especially if we're going to pack that midfield. And we're going to need him. We really, really are going to need him. What's the poll saying right now? 47% think he's been punished, 28% think he was injured, and 25% think he is faking it. We'll see how that poll moves forward. Kay here says Kobbie shouldn't have to answer for the actions of another man. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah, it is his place of work, Old Trafford. If my brother turned up to my place of work with wearing a t-shirt with a placard or said something that brings the club into disrepute, I'd have to speak to my boss, wouldn't I? I would. I was invited to my old boss's my old boss. It was her 40th birthday party. And my brother came with me. She'd met my brother on a few occasions. She was fine with him being there. He got a bit drunk and ended up being sick on her living room floor. Not only did I clean it up, I continuously apologised. There was another man's actions, but it's my family member, and I'm part of that. So I don't completely agree that he doesn't have to get involved at all. There are reports that he had nothing to do with it, that he doesn't endorse it. There are others from credible sources that say he does and did. And I think it really depends on who you're going to believe. I hope and pray he had nothing to... I hope, by the way, can you put that super chat back up for us, please, so I can read it? Sorry, my bad. I hope that he had nothing to do with it. I hope that he... See, that sounds weird to say out loud. I hope that he is injured and that he's conducting himself perfectly. I truly, truly hope that's the case. This super chat here says, "Nah, I don't... don't be disappointed, Terry. This is the times we are living in. We are both unks. We just don't get the clout these young balls post on the internet." Yeah, I'm not really worried about clout. I'm at that point in my life where the clout isn't important. Just speaking the truth as I see it is. And that's my situation with this Kobbie Mainoo scenario. Just got a feeling he's been punished. But it's a horrible gut feeling. I'm not happy about it. And it's cost us. Savage here says, "I mean, he had to do something, Terry. I don't blame Ruben at all." Well, look, Savage, if it's true that he knew about it, endorsed it, won't condemn it, agrees with it, Ruben needs to punish him. I agree. Because although I am largely on Kobbie Mainoo's side from the perspective he should have been given more game time, he should have been given opportunities this year. There's been times where he needed him and he wasn't used, and I don't take any of that back. What I believe in more is protecting the position of manager. The one issue that Man United fans have got, the one issue I think people in society have, and it's something I try my best to not allow myself to be dragged into, is I look at the action more than the person that's undertaking it. So, for instance, if I dislike the manager, but his action is correct, I'll try my best to not condemn him. A lot of people can't do that. So, for instance, let's just say this exact scenario has happened under Sir Alex Ferguson. 99.9% of United fans would go, no, Fergie's got to maintain control and power. He's the boss. He's rightfully disciplined him. But if it's a manager we don't like and we want to see the player play, it's screw him, man. I get why the player did it. I'd do the same. So we have this sort of, we have this ability as human beings, and it's a bad thing, but I understand it, but it's a human thing. It's often in life, we don't criticize the action. We look at who's doing it. You've seen those social experiments, haven't you? Where people go to a college campus or a university campus and they read out quotes and they'll say, oh, Nigel Farage said this, or Donald Trump said this. And people go, oh, he's a disgraceful man. And then they go, actually, it was Obama, or actually, it was Gandhi, or actually, it was someone that's looked at as a wonderful figurehead from history. And they go, oh, actually, I get where they're coming. Suddenly, that quote feels different depending on who has said it, right? So we know that's how we work, our brains work, and we do it with our managers at football. We do it all the time. It's, well, if I like the manager, I'd back the action, but because I don't like him, I'm going to back the player. That, for me, is something that, when it comes to I think one of the biggest issues United have got is our manager has lost power at the club over the last 13 years. And it doesn't matter if I like the manager or not. What the hierarchy at the club have got to do is ensure that that position always has authority over the dressing room. Because once you lose that, you're screwed. And this is my message to the United fans that would rather throw managers they don't like under the bus by allowing the players to rule. The issue you've got is when the players have the power, at some point there's going to be a manager you rate who's also going to get thrown under that bus. What's the expression? You will reap what you sow. So we need to push back against it. Let's have a look here. This is the coach that beat Man City back to back in 2 different leagues. Yes, it is. Peter here says, morning Terry, Mainoo and Bruno have busted up. Both are being sold. Yeah, look, Bruno will eventually move on from Manchester United. I'm fairly convinced by that. I think Amorim is losing fans due to the youth situation. He's only playing them when needed. Ricky, I don't disagree. I think he's certainly lost a massive part of the fan base. I've lost so much faith in Ruben, but I don't think he should have his authority taken away, because if you take it away from him, it's harder for the next guy to have authority. You have to set that standard. We always go on about standards, but the problem is with a lot of football fans is that we have no idea how the hierarchy needs to work. And that's because a lot of us are not the boss in life. Either in your own home, your job, you don't feel it in society. And we as people, we leave this super chat up, please, as well, from Ray. We all do this. I'm a working class man. I'm a union man. We all like to stick it to the man, don't we? But that's our problem. We're thinking like we've got to stick it to the man. We're not realizing that for any football club to be successful, the dressing room can't rule. It doesn't work. He's in a circle, not some random guy, so I don't believe he didn't have an idea, and they act accordingly by dropping him. But I do agree with the inner circle element. And this is the thing, right? So if, for instance, one of my the Football Terrace, my personal channel, has nearly 500,000 followers. I know who some of them are. I don't know who the majority of them are. If one of them tweets something slagging off Mark Goldbridge, okay, hypothetical here, me and Mark work together, slagging off Mark Goldbridge on my behalf because Mark makes a joke about me, I'm not going to address it. It is some random person who, yes, respectfully follows me, but I don't know them. If it's my brother, if it's my best friend, if it's my partner, if it's one of my children, then I have to get involved, because it's a very different scenario. And there is something I believe in life. You whether it's right or wrong, you are what you hang around with. Now, sometimes someone you hang around with does something that you're not aware of, but at some point you've got to distance yourself from it, right? We've all seen those scenarios play out in real life. You've got to be, hang on, it comes a point where I've got to say, I'm not associated with this opinion, this behavior, this personality. Just because you know the person. If you don't, if you continue to back them, what does that say? So, no, I agree with you, Ray. I think that, I've got a lot of love for Kobbie Mainoo. I don't like how Ruben's treated him. Stand on that. But I didn't like the T-shirt. I thought it was wrong. I think the player's got to come out and distance himself from it. He hasn't. There are some very strong, credible reports that he endorsed that message. We can't then just go, okay, crack on. Can't do it. No way. Can't happen. Gems here says Kobbie needs to go. So I disagree with that. I want a resolution. I want to see him get game time. I want to see him fight for his place. I agree with Roy Keane. His fight's here. This here from James, Super Chat says, morning, Terry. I can't fault the standards and ethos Amorim is trying to set. At worst, he could be laying a better foundation for the next manager. In terms of the disciplinarian side of things at the club, I've not really disliked any of that. I haven't agreed with a lot of his team choices. I don't like how he hasn't given youth a chance at certain times. In certain games by not bringing on Mainoo earlier, like the Everton game. I haven't agreed with some of his tactical decisions. But in terms of players turning up late, eating the wrong foods, partying in the night, in terms of this situation, I'm not against the way he's handled that. The way the club is disciplining people for leaking information from the dressing room, all of that I concur with. And I think what we've got to learn to start doing as football fans of this beautiful football club is drop who does things. Drop your personal feelings towards them as an individual and look at what is actually right and wrong. And go, right, what would we have done when we were at the peak of our powers? What would Fergie... And this is what I find really funny. People pick and choose when standards matter. Pick and choose. So they'll go, we've got to get back to what we were. And then this situation with Mainoo happens and we go, well, Fergie would have kicked him out of the squad for a few weeks. Bro, but Amorim ain't Fergie. He ain't got that kind of credit in the bank. Oh, so now the standards of old don't matter because you don't like the manager. That for me is a cop-out. So we either got to take from the previous standards. Equally, yeah, Pep would drop him. Oh, he ain't Pep though, is he? Ah. There's your answer. Great super chat, James. Great super chat. I don't understand how we are judging players under Amorim. He's the first manager who puts his system above everything else. He should tailor his tactics to players he has at his disposal. I think that's wrong. I think we should... What he's done in the last two games is what I've been asking for. I don't think a manager like him should abandon how he wants to play football and his philosophy. We've seen Ten Hag abandon his philosophy and it ended miserably. What he needs to do is adjust the shape of the team and who's on the pitch. Because we haven't changed how we've played in the last two games, but we've packed the midfield more by changing the shape slightly, but the ethos has been the same. So I think there's a hybrid difference in these two things. I feel that you still need to implement the style of football that you want and then add better players to it. That, again, doesn't matter that it's Amorim. That I agree with fundamentally. But if a shape isn't working, if a team works out how to overload in a certain area against you, you need to adapt, and he hasn't done that soon enough. I'm happy he started to do it. But the bit that really wound me up about yesterday is I looked at it and thought, 8 players out through injury, suspension, and players at AFCON. Why weren't these adjustments made when those players were available against Fulham, away against City, away against Forest and Spurs, at home against Everton, 10 men for 90 minutes, 80 minutes, at West Ham? That's my bugbear. He didn't change how we played football yesterday. He didn't change how we played football in that second half against Bournemouth. He adapted his shape. He gave some youth players a chance. He packed the midfield to stop us being overrun. That's my issue. But that all being said, That doesn't mean that players can misbehave and you shouldn't be allowed to discipline them because I've not been happy with his tactics. That level of power must maintain no matter what. You have to. Imagine you're a parent and you make a mistake. I'm a parent. I've made a mistake with my kids. But can you imagine? Let's paint a hypothetical. So you're married, you and your wife, you've got 3 kids. And let's say, I think every parent's done this. When you think one of your children has done something wrong, you tell them off. But they really didn't do anything wrong and they're upset. Can you imagine in that moment, because you made that mistake, if it's like, right, you don't get to tell Flossie off anymore. What do you mean? You don't get to discipline them anymore. You've lost your right to discipline them because you made a mistake. Can you imagine the dynamic of your house if you're the one who's having to... you're the one making the tea, not your kids. Not that my young children make cups of tea, but when I got to about 10, 11 years old, I don't remember the last time my parents made a cup of tea. Whenever they wanted a cup of tea, it was Terry, Daniel, Mitchell makes a cup of tea. You know? Doing your chores. You can't make Flossie do chores anymore. Why? Because you made a few mistakes in your parenting. You can't allow the hierarchy to go. Certain things must still maintain. Jack here with a super chat says, we are ruining 2 generational talents in Yoro and Kobbie, publicly calling out youth and Yoro, push Kobbie to breaking point, piss poor man management. Look, I don't like the way he's called out the youth. I agree with that wholeheartedly and that I condemn. I think the Yoro situation, listen, I've said a lot about Kobbie. Everybody knows that I think he should have got more game time. I'm not happy with how he has been treated in terms of game time. Yoro's situation is different. Yoro, for me, has hit some bad form. The reason Yoro's still in the team, where I would take him out the limelight, is because Maguire and De Ligt are injured. Mass has gone to AFCON, and Lissandro's only just come back from injury. If De Ligt and Maguire were fit, Yoro wouldn't be in the team. I don't think... I've seen Amorim say a lot of positive things about Lenny Yoro, so I don't necessarily think he's ruining him. He hasn't done a good enough job as coach overall. But all that being said, it's not about protecting Ruben Amorim, and that's what you've got, for me, my friend, to get your head around. I'm not saying protect Amorim at all costs. If you actually listen to the words that I'm using and think beyond Amorim, again, drop who he is. It's the position he holds that must maintain power. So, for instance, I'm still in the frame of mind where I would dismiss Ruben. But I would still be letting underperforming players, insubordinate players, and ill-disciplined players know that you ain't getting away with it. You're still getting moved on. Don't think because he hasn't done a good enough job that you're just going to get a clean slate for the next 2 years again. Ugarte, you're still gone, my old mate. Kobbie, if you really did know what your brother was going to do, next time you do it, you're for the high jump. I'll be letting Bruno, even as captain. By the way, I wouldn't do this publicly with the captain. I'll do it privately because he's the captain. But you speak about us again in public like that, you're gone. I wouldn't just go, it's okay, guys. I understand all the bad behaviour, the bad performances. It's okay you miss open goals because the system was bad. I would still hold the players to account. For instance, Šeško's performance against Spurs, the chances he missed yesterday, the poor defending in certain games this year that I don't think is systematic. I think they're individual player mistakes. I wouldn't just let them off because the manager hasn't done a good enough job. No. If you came to work for me as an editor and your team leader was doing a bad job, but you were still late with all your edits, they still weren't up to quality, I might get rid of your team leader for being a bad boss. I'm getting rid of you as well for also not doing your job right. You're gone. Got to maintain some level of control here. This United Stan have turned into Manager FC. Well, no, not at all. Because I'm not defending them. I'm not defending Ruben. I'm defending the position that he sits in. It's not Manager FC. It's Man Utd FC. Find me a successful sports team where the manager has less control than the players. Find me where that exists, and I'll change my mind. Yoro misses the lick next to him. Oh, I agree. And what I would do with Yoro right now, if we had the personnel, was I'd take him out of the first team. Which is why I wouldn't put Lissandro in midfield. I would take Yoro out. I wouldn't keep him out indefinitely. Wolves game, straight back in. We've got Leeds and Burnley coming up. Maybe away at Leeds, I'll take him out. Against Burnley, back in. City take Maresca and we go for Amorim, is what Sam says here. Are you a Chelsea fan? I assume you're a Chelsea fan in the way you've worded that. Well, that'll be up to you. Moving on from this, though, and looking ahead at January. Semenyo. What do you guys all think? By the way, if you haven't hit the like button yet, get that done. I want to speak Semenyo today. Can we do another poll, please, Mr. Ogilvy? Where is Semenyo going? Man United? Man City? Arsenal? Or someone else? I think they should be the options. And I think it's important to look at this. Do us a favour, please, by the way. Like, share, and subscribe. But. The Semenyo deal is close. This, for me, is a fact. The Semenyo deal is close to completion. There's a buyout clause, fairly simplistic by all accounts. Manchester United and Man City have had direct contact on a couple of occasions now. In the middle of last week, plus over the weekend. Both clubs have again reached out to Antoine Semenyo. Both clubs have reached out to Bournemouth as well to find out the conditions of the clause. And are the front runners. Man United, Man City are the front runners to sign Semenyo. This is as close to a fact. I think it's a fact. But it's as close to a fact as you can get. Ornstein, we're going to go through what he has said. Fabrizio Romano, the United Stand and the Football Terrace, very own Ben Jacobs. Both clubs are in active talks. We have seen Tottenham Hotspur pull out, which was always going to happen because Spurs, with all due respect to them, had absolutely zero chance, in my opinion, of signing him with the size of clubs chasing him. It doesn't matter that United are 7th and not in the Champions League. Spurs, zero chance. And compared to the Liverpools and the Cities and the Arsenals, again, no way. What was reported last night, and I'm going to go and get the actual quotes on this now as well, is that, excuse me for not having this, I thought I had it ready. This is from David Ornstein. It says, everything I've learned suggests that a transfer is highly possible, and the names that are leading as the contenders are Manchester City and Manchester United in no particular order. They're both extremely fond of him. Liverpool have said they are a great admirers for him. They've not moved to the same extent so far. So as of right now, Liverpool haven't made the contact with the player in Bournemouth to the same degree as both Manchester clubs. He says, let's see if anything changes due to the Isak injury. As we broke the news that Liverpool fear, he's actually further reported since then that it's probably a broken leg now for Isak. So that could change the scenario. And I think that's where the blow comes in, that Liverpool seemingly were looking like they were pulling away, which gives United more of an opportunity. Spurs were very keen and they were prepared to pay significant salary, but he politely is focusing on other options. So what Ornstein is saying in a very professional way is Semenyo said no. He says Arsenal looked at the situation, but more towards the summer, and I don't think he is willing to wait until the summer. That for me is another worry. I'll get to City in a moment. Liverpool might now change their minds and say, look, Isak's going to be out 2 or 3 months. We need something else. We need to... Ekitike is going to be the main guy up front. We need something else for these wings. We need to give ourselves a bit more firepower, maybe. Arsenal's is an interesting one because they're distancing themselves from it, but they want the player, but they want to wait till the summer. He is an Arsenal fan. Arsenal are top of the league. If he says, listen, guys, I'm going to agree to go City. I'm going to agree to go United. Last chance saloon, you coming in. Could they change their mind? That would be a blow. That's a worry. But the biggest concern I have right now is Man City. They're purring in the league. Got Pep as excuse me. Pep as their manager in the title race, getting better and better and better and better. There's an element, part of me feels confident because we've grown from being an outsider that nobody thought had a chance 3 weeks ago to being one of the front runners. At the same time, I feel like with Man United, more often than not, whenever my hopes are high for anything in the last decade or so, I've had the rug pulled from under my feet. But how do you see it going? The poll's up. I've voted. How have you voted? 41% of you think he's going to Manchester United. Do you think it's the right deal for us? Let's just say we pull it off. Let's just live in a world for a moment where Man United pull it off. Do you think it's the right deal for United? Because I would prefer a midfielder. But what I don't want to ignore, what I can't ignore, is the fact that most of the midfielders that we want to buy are just not available in January. And if Semenyo is part of the attacking options that we have for the summer, but he's available now, I'm not adverse to buying him before a midfielder. Doesn't mean he's a bigger priority. It's just a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Imagine the strategy at United was, we really want Semenyo in the summer, but because the fans would prefer Elliot Anderson or Belieber first, and we can't get there until the summer, we're just not going to buy Semenyo now. That doesn't make sense to me. City, the one thing I'd be pitching into Semenyo if I was Man United is, look, when Doku's fit, you're not playing on the left. You're not starting on the left. Foden and Cherki kind of occupying the right-hand side of that attack at the moment are purring. Where I think at Man United, with us recently changing us shape, the way we use our left wing backs are not like most clubs' wing backs. They're used like wingers. Semenyo, I still think, walks pretty much straight into our first team. If the reports are true that we're going to start using 4-3-3 more regularly, again, I think he walks straight into the first team. That's the pitch. But I just can't get Arsenal out the back of my mind. Liverpool maybe, but it's listening to what David Ornstein has said here. I just can't quite get Arsenal out the back of my mind. Which is, they want him in the summer. He's an Arsenal fan. They rate the player. Are Arsenal, with someone like Berta running their sort of transfer operation, are they going to allow a main target to join a City, a United, a Liverpool for the sake of waiting 6 months? Are they going to be that naive? I don't think so. I'd love to get your opinions on this. Where do you think Antoine Semenyo ends up? I personally think by the middle of January, the deal's done. I think the deal goes over the line. I would love it to be Manchester United. I think he's a very, very good football player. I think whichever club he goes to, he helps to elevate their attack. I think he scores goals. I think with his speed, excuse me, his power, he's got a decent... I know he went a couple of months without scoring, but I'm not going to overly judge him for that. I think he's got a good clinical edge. He can score all manner of goals. And you put better quality players around him. You're looking at, again, I'm not going to make any mad claims that he's world-class, best in the league, going to become a superstar. I just think he's a very good player. And at 65 million, which is the buyout clause, it's good value. I know it's a lot of money to us normal people. But in the footballing sense, all the top wingers and attackers in the world are 120, 30, 40, 50 million. At 65 million, I think it represents very, very good value. You think about some of the 70, 80, 90 million pound players now average they've been. I think he's the level above that. But look, I'd love your thoughts. I'd love your opinions on this in the comment section below. Cannot wait to read what it is you've got to say about this. But the Semenyo deal, for me, is very, very close indeed. Let's look at some of these comments here. Sorry. This cold is coming back with a vengeance today. Too many AFCON players on the wings. I'm not too worried about that. A front three of Semenyo, Cunha and Mbeumo has pace, power, scares every team, then the midfield in the summer. Yeah, what I like about the idea of Semenyo at Manchester United is... people don't like my pitch on this, but I think... I look at it this way. I think that the team... I've got just a little gut feeling that we're going to start going more 4-3-3. I just think we're going to start doing it more. Especially if you buy a Semenyo. But there's also times where we'll use him as a wing-back. But our wing-backs are not like... They're more wingers. If you actually read... Go back and read. Forget at Man United. Go back and read all the reports on Amorim's style at Sporting and what he wants his wing-backs to do. He wants them to be wingers. So it doesn't matter what you're classified as. If your job is to attack and create and score, I don't really care what you know what I mean. If Ruben Amorim has got a way of playing where he's CDM is going to be the chief playmaker and creator. Forget CDM. Trent played right back, but he was a playmaker. I never looked at him as an out-and-out right back in the conventional sense. Liverpool had a structure and a system that put him into the position to create, more so than I've ever seen any other right back do. He was a playmaker more than he was a right back. That's why it didn't matter to Liverpool that he would make mistakes defensively, because he was a net positive in terms of creating for them. Let's have a look here. I'm telling you now, we're going to lose the next game by a big margin. So I hope you're wrong, man. I hear you. But I really, really do hope that you are wrong on this one. I really do hope you are wrong. Terry, if we get Semenyo, who are we getting in the midfield and won't have to have Europe to get Stiller, Wharton and Anderson? I also think keep your eye out on Ruben Neves in January, especially if Mainoo leaves. Keep your eye out for it. And I also think look out for Xerxes going. Because I think if we sign Semenyo, Xerxes goes. I think if Mainoo really pushes to go out on loan, I think we get someone like a Ruben Neves. That's what I think we do short term. Definitely, we don't have a solution for midfield, and as shaky as our defence is. Yeah, I agree, Andre, talking about the comment here from Sal. I'm worried about the Newcastle game massively. I really, really am. When's the press conference for the Newcastle game? I wouldn't have been surprised if it was done last night and then is under embargo. However, it will probably happen tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, because they'll be training. And there we go. Wharton is the most important transfer target by a country mile. Yeah, the issue is with Belieber, with Wharton, with Anderson, Stiller, is that they're so almost impossible to get in January. So it becomes, again, I don't want to not sign a Semenyo because we need midfielders more, but we can't get them till the summer. Buy the midfielder. Buy Semenyo. Like, add some more goals at the very least. At least the only time I wouldn't do it is if it's going to eat into the midfield budget. So if we're saying if we get Semenyo, we can't get one of those midfielders. I mean, we can buy one of them, but getting Semenyo means we can't get two midfielders. Then I'd wait. But there's no reports that are suggesting that, as far as I've seen anyway. Terry, everyone ignores Newcastle's away form is horrible. Now, Bryan, I agree. I think if we pack the midfielders we did, I think we put Lissandro back at the back, there's a chance. I'm worried about it, though. I'm very worried. I'm worried he's going to start Ugarte. I'm worried we're going to go 3-4-3 and not change it up and not pack the midfield and get run through, because we've done it so many times. Look, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to be live in the next 5 minutes on my channel, The Football Terrace. It'd be great if as many of you as possible could come and join us over there. This is going to redirect you to that. So thank you to everyone at the United Stand for doing it. We're live. We're going to be talking Man United. We're going to be talking about Isak's injury. We're talking about the title race as well. So more of a general footballing conversation over there. So if as many of you as possible could join us, that would be amazing. The United Stand back at 2 p.m. today, so make sure you're all there for it. But thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.